I thought I have from focus instead of from. We need to look at those questions. I saw somebody's book on my table, but I said we are marking from a class. I normally have an intention when I say that. When I mark on my own, you're not learning anything from what I'm doing. But when we mark from class, all of you are learning at the same time we are correcting. So I don't know, that owner can go for the book. I think it's Mudoni or someone. So at least this first one we will have to mark class. Then maybe in future we can see whether sometimes we'll be marking from elsewhere. Now we'll have to exchange our books because you cannot mark your own. You exchange our books. I'm not seeing the exchange happening. Give somebody else your book. Give somebody else your book. And I'm hoping that everybody did the work because there are those people who are lazy. When we say we work on assignments, they don't want to work on them. So when we say exchange books, they can't exchange because they have not done it. We are looking at the essay on fathers. Yeah, that's what we are starting with. We are starting with that before we can get to any other activity. You are given 2 essays, huh? Yeah, we agreed that by now people will work on at least 2 essays. Where's a book you're marking? Bring it. Yes? You have? Yeah, you give it. We want to start right away. So can we read the question? All of us together? It's just the second lesson of the morning.
Choices have consequences.
Together?
Choices have consequences. Is this statement.
You are reading like those who have traveled for a very long journey, maybe to Lodwa, and you've just arrived, it's so dusty, so you are not even breathing. Can you read like people who spend time here and you just woke up in class?
Choices have consequences. Closely refers to characters in fathers of nation to show the truth in this statement.
Can we have one person to let us interpret that so that we can get the introduction? One person. If you are to tell somebody in other words that statement, choices have consequences in relation to fathers, what would you say? No one is willing to give us because we will not move. I'll go back, sit, then come back when you are ready. I'm not a preacher to be preaching. I have taught you already, we have finished the text, now it's your time. So because I'm not preaching, if you are not ready, I go back, then when you are ready, I'll come. Is that the case? Yes? Uh-huh. I want the interpretation first. When you look at my example, I tried to explain to you what that question means first. Before I even go to the characters, you are supposed to interpret that question. What does it mean? If someone doesn't understand English, for example, and you are trying to simplify that, what would you say of that statement? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you choose to do something, or if you decide to do something, you must do it knowing that we have effects of how we will do it. The simplest way should be decisions made have always an effect on how we do them. So check whether that person has written something related to that. And maybe they have related to the text and said, in Fathers of Nations, we see poor choices by Kimani, Chamaka, Melusi, and Tahir that finally impact negatively on them. So look at the introduction and see what someone has written. If they have done that, then you write there I too on the side, on the margin. You just read through and see. If they have not done it like that, they might be getting I0 or maybe I1, depending on what they have written. If whatever they are doing is just to repeat that question in the introduction, they get I0. If they have tried to bring it to the text, maybe they have got I1. Everyone should be putting marks. I'm seeing some people are not writing anything there. Explain what you are saying, because we are doing simple so that you people understand what you should be writing in future. And you have the brain, si ndio? So una akili tu kuanzia class 1 mpaka saa yuko form 3. Am I supposed to speak in Portuguese or Japanese for you to have understood what we have talked here?
Not everyone wrote about the essay about that question.
But that was the first question you assigned, right? And we agreed yesterday before I left class that we are supposed to work on 2 essays. Or what did we say? Yeah, so by now everybody should have done 2 questions. The first one is that one, and then there was another which Madam Milo gave. Which one was that? Yeah, so those 2 questions by now you should have answered. Or else, which other question did you do? Yeah, read it.
Problems that African encounter are products of nepotism.
How many have not done that question? Choices have consequences. Around 5. But you have done 2 questions. Which one and which one, apart from that problems that encounter? Yes?
Poor leadership is to blame for all the closely refers to Fathers of Nations to show the truth in this text.
It's okay, we will look at those, but I think way forward is this. When questions are given in class, follow the order. If question 1 is choices, start with choices, so that when we are marking, all of us are reading the same script. All of us should be reading the same script, and we should move at the same pace, so that by this time we know you've done all these questions, 5 questions which are similar, or else this difference will not help us. As you know, we don't even have much time as teachers. We have our own life to move. We have also other ways to chase for finances. We cannot rely on salary. Salary is not enough. You can see clearly in the Fathers of Nation. If you rely on salary, you'll be a poor person all over the place. So we have other things we have to do to make money. At the same time, we have to teach. So which time do I have to sit down with the books and mark all of your books? Do you think there's that time?
No.
There's no time. So, because we want again to benefit and gain as you learn, we are marking from class. All of us should have done similar questions. So just way forward later, let us have that similarity. Maybe if we don't deal with those questions, I'll mark those books, but in future, do similar questions. And most of my time I use the class to mark because you are the ones you wrote. You should learn from marking, and then with time you become better in how to handle those questions. So let's deal with that choices and consequences. Look at the introduction. I hope you've looked at it. You've checked whether it's worth 2 marks, 1 mark, or 0 marks. If someone is just repeating the words, they cannot score. If they have used a word choice and consequence in the introduction, they don't deserve a mark. But if they have used it, but at the same time again gone further to say that Kimani, Chamaka, and whatever make wrong decisions and they experience their consequences, that would be 1 mark, because at least they have also contextualized to the text. But if they defined the word choices differently and consequences differently and correctly, then at the same time brought something to do with the text, that is 2 marks. Now we are going to the body, and I expect 1 paragraph should be on Kimani, another one should be on Chamaka, another one should be on Tahir, another one should be on Melusi, and there is a possibility of also you choosing to have the Gambian or Zimbabwean president, because they have also the choices they made, and those had consequences on either the citizens or somewhere. So, can someone give us the paragraph on Chamaka, for example? Anyone who understands the choices of Chamaka, and then we can mark that one. Chamaka. Yes.
Chamaka chooses to drive recklessly, and he ends in a tragic accident in which he is nearly killed. He always drove dangerously with an elbow striking out of the window and a radio blaring out the latest hit song. He could change his mind in mid-traffic and decide to drive to this destination instead of that. Sometimes he could surveyor out of his initial lane, then kept cutting into other lanes until he reached the lane to his new destination. If it happens his new route landed him at a scene of an accident that had blocked all ways forward, he could cross over to lanes for vehicles traveling in the opposite direction and kept on going in his previous direction. He had played this trick many times before, and it had always worked. Approaching cars were either stopping or swerving out of his way like water, pausing or passing to let a Moses on wheels cross the Red Sea. This time he ran into a fire engine, massive and unstoppable. It hit him. His Mercedes flew off the road and spun in the air several times before landing on the road again. Not a single motorist stopped to check on him. His vehicle was totally spoiled.
Good, let's appreciate her. So you check for that paragraph, see whether those details have come out, because we want to know when, where, how, why. We want to know all that. And Chamaka has 2 choices and 2 consequences. You can either have that, or you have the choice to go to the church and preach in a combative way about the president. He goes about and talks about how the president dropped a memo instead of going to the place where there were riots. When he does that, of course, he understands that the people in the church were not comfortable. But he kept preaching against the president. And this is a whole city. Unfortunately, that landed him in jail for how many weeks? 2 weeks. In a rat-infested and flea-infested jail. He suffered that moment, and when he came out, he was also banned from preaching. So you can check on that. If someone has written about Chamaka. Now remember, the first sentence I told you it must be a topic sentence. Check whether somebody has said, Chamaka chooses to drive carelessly and he faces the consequences. Or, Chamaka chooses to talk ill about the president and encounters very serious consequences. Then now somebody tells us how, when, where, why. So all those details must come out. So check for that paragraph carefully. If all those details have come out, you write full, Full, and you give 3 marks below it. If someone has written but has not exhausted all those details, maybe they are scoring fair, 2 marks. Or if they have just mentioned, but they have not given us full details, they have scored thin, which is equal to 1 mark. Unfortunately, we might have those who have answered the same question, but then, what have they done? They have simply gone ahead to narrate. They are talking about Chamaka used to be a preacher, Chamaka did this, but they are not answering the question. They are not relating choice and consequence. That means they have only narrated, so you write there NARR, meaning narration, and they score a 0. If they have talked about Chamaka but they have not shown anything in relation to what you know in the text, then that becomes UNPT, unpointed. Unpointed. So check the paragraph. Take your time, check through the paragraph on Chamaka and see what your friend has written. Now we are doing this so that when teachers will be marking your work, you will not be surprised, why have I gotten 2, why have I got 0, why have I got 1. I want you to familiarize yourself with what particularly people look for. And that information I'm saying, where, why, how, it is called background information. Or sometimes we can call it evidence. Because you cannot call somebody intelligent before you tell us why you think so. Why do you think so? What did they do? How did they do it? When did they do it? How did they do it? Are you seeing that detail? Yes. So that's why we are saying that paragraph should carry all that for it to score 3 marks. And remember, an essay is supposed to be at least 2 pages. I wonder, I'm seeing some people who wrote half a page. How can that be covered in half a page? A whole essay in half a page. My example, you saw it took how many pages? Yeah, so you cannot write half a page and tell me you have written an essay. No, that one, no. Now let's go to the next character, who is Kimani. Kimani Karanja. We want one of you to give us an example. One person to help us understand about Kimani's choices and the consequences. And I hope there is nobody who never did the work, because unfortunately you keep helping, but there's someone who is just avoiding. Anajifanya sungura. Lakini unajichezea, because after all, who is going to have the negative? You see, that is also just choices and consequences. So make wise choices so that they also benefit you. Yes? Oh, yeah. Where is the topic sentence? Kimani, blah, blah, and then blah, blah. Don't just start after. Once you start with after this, that is narration, it's 0. When you start after Sia does this and this and this and this, and you are just narrating the story, that is narration, which is equal to 0. So give us the topic sentence first.
Imani goes and fights the MP. His wife goes to live with him.
And suffers serious consequences. Now, you tell us. Tell us now when, why, how, and what.
After the death of their daughter, when he was moved from being a senior lecturer to a professor.
Why are you rushing? Because there is a lot of information around Kimani, right? You are supposed to tell us Kimani is the husband to Tuni after a wedding. That information. Then after that, you tell us that after years of stay, Tuni dies in an accident after using a public minibus. During morning time, we see Asia turning despondent. But when she's just gaining her happiness, she reports to Kimani that she wants to be married to Walomu. Kimani asks whether it's money, and she reminds him that if it was not, if we had a real car, their daughter would not have died. She decides to leave, and Kimani, out of anger, storms Walomu's office and then challenges Walomu by first abusing him and later running into a fight. That fight is only handled by the police, and it puts Kimani in prison for 6 months. When he comes out, he is dropped from being a full professor to being a senior lecturer. He is also, what else does he experience? He is also forced to encounter depression, kind of, because he's uncomfortable having people come around him after the effects of jail. He feels so lonely that he is willing to even exit teaching without saying farewell. Indeed, his choice to fight Walomu led to his serious effects. So you must look at all those. Don't run into just picking some and leaving others, because we have to understand the history. Why did it happen? So we are seeing it happen because of that death. So check that paragraph on Kimani. Check the paragraph and then see whether your friend has written details. The first thing should be that topic sentence. Kimani experiences or chooses to fight Walomu and suffers serious consequences. Then now tell us how, when, and why. Now we will find those who are doing the way she was reading. They're just starting with after this and this and this and this. Read carefully. Unless there is a connection between a choice and decision, that person has scored 0. It is simply a narration. You are narrating to us the text, but you are not answering the question. But in case they have narrated like that, but at some point, maybe as they write their paragraph, they have shown something about decision and choice, a decision and a consequence, maybe they have gotten a theme, 1 mark. Then there are those who have written but left some details. You know, when they are marking paper 3, by the way, the reason why I'm being so strict with you, paper 3 is one of the papers which is strict. Most times it is set by lecturers in universities. And they want to see that the people who are actually qualifying to score highly in English, they really deserve it. So they were arguing that most students could go to university, but when they are told to write even an exam, they don't know what to do. So that's why they decided that paper 3 is set by lecturers. That's why you have to be so keen on how you are writing it. It is not just a walk in the park. So check carefully to see what somebody has written before you award the marks. If they have scored 2, that is a fair. If they have scored very little 1, that is a thin. If they have embraced you fully, that becomes a full. And I'm trying so much so that we become empowered in how to handle this paper. Many students up to Form 4, you realize that they complain. They don't know how to write an essay. They don't know why. Because a teacher just marks from the staff room, returns the book with a 0 out of 20, and the students never understand why they are scoring that. And then you give up. Sometimes you as a student now, you say, I can't score very well, so why should I even write? But everyone can write a very good essay, if only you master the art of doing it correctly. Now we can go to the next character, who is Melusi. Do you have anyone who thinks they have written well about Melusi? Melusi. Or Tahir, tell us which one you've written about and you are confident. Then you tell us about it and we mark. Anyone with Tahir or Melusi? Okay.
Engineer Tahir. When Engineer Tahir chooses to slap Miss Mahmoud, which leads to loss of his eyes, Engineer Tahir fell in love with a junior colleague who works in the same weapons laboratory as he did. Love might as well have been an unpleasant call he felt he had to put behind him first and then hurry back to work. He could endure any indignity, but not rejection by a junior colleague. One Wednesday, spurred on by inexplicable confidence, he went to her office and took the plan. He offered to have a bowl of tomato soup one evening with Miss Mahmoud. She smiled at him in response, which he believed that she was lost of words. He decided to suggest on Saturday. This time, Miss Mahmoud answered with no. Engineer Tahir misinterpreted a sweet no as a sour no and reacted to it violently. Unwisely, he vowed to retaliate. Next morning, as Miss Mahmoud was removing her head veil, ready for laboratory work, Engineer Tahir went and slapped her to administer discipline on a female subordinate for shedding her veil in public in violation of Libyan culture. Miss Mahmoud did not take it lying down. Instead, she hit back by reflex. A litter opener, obeying her hand, caught Tahir's right in his left eye and slit it open.
Okay. We can see that is a fair because you've left some consequences such as the loss of eye causes him depression. It also makes him an angry person that does not want to relate with anybody, and he has to relocate from Tripoli to from what? Benghazi. Yeah, then the first sentence, learn not to start with when. Just say, Engineer Tahir chooses to slap Miss Mahmoud, and this leads to loss of eye. So not when. That when you can erase. But that's a fair. Yeah, so check on paragraphs on Tahir. See that there is that connection between the decision made and the consequence. Look at the information behind the doing it. When did he do? You heard she said it, right? She's given the genesis, the history behind it. She's given when did it happen, how did it happen, what happened, and its effects. Now you can also look at Melusi. Melusi has two choices he makes in the text, and all of them have negative consequences. The first one is a political one. Melusi chooses to fight Boma, the president, and he loses everything completely. Then now tell us what? You have to tell us that Melusi used to fight hand in hand, Smith, with the comrades. That's why even he acquired the name comrade. He trusts that he will be part of the leadership of Zimbabwe. However, during independence, as they raise the flag, he kind of loses it because immediately, Boma decides to fight the opposition, the Ndebele. Believing that Mwalusi was part of the opposition because of his tribe, he fights him by first launching weapons in the oppositional leader, who is arrested, and then later on bringing in the Kukurahundi as, is it Mrambatsvina first? Kukurahundi, that strangles people. He comes back at home to find his wife Ziliza already strangled and lying in the kitchen. He pays back by starting a party nip so as to oppose the Zimbabwean leader, but fails terribly. That is the first effect you can see. Later on, he relocates to the slums to start his bookshop business. However, because Boma already sees him as a threat, starts again Kukurahundi as a thing to clear crime and diseases. Then all the people in the slums are evacuated as slums are cleared, losing all the business that Melusi relied on. He becomes a poor citizen who experiences the dire effects of the Boma. And that makes him so desperate. When he meets Tad Longway, he is disillusioned, he is hopeless, and his life is in jumbles. Are you seeing that? So check a paragraph on Melusi, see whether somebody has given those details. Or someone might talk about Melusi, decides to attack who? The president during the summit, and he faces the consequences. Now tell us about that history around how he planned and the fact that he's arrested. He doesn't finally see the success of that policy, that the Path Alpha. Then in the conclusion, what do you think we'll say? Every time we are making decisions in life, we must always be careful to choose the best, because that is what can make our life better. So just check through and see, and we'll still proceed to the next, because I want you to master essays. That is one of the most complex things to learn. So let's meet in another lesson to see how we can. Then we actually have all of us to try and take part.